Good morning. We're going to be getting started in just a minute. Oh. Could people please go into the English language channel under interpretation if you're need the program in English, and if you are speaking Thai, please go to the Thai interpretation. Mai, can you please say that in Thai?
เพื่อนคนไทยหารูปลูกโลกนะคะแล้วก็กดเข้าช่องไทย THAI เพื่อฟังภาษาไทยนะคะถ้าหาลูกโลกไม่เจอนะคะในหน้าจอให้หาที่มันมีจุดค่ะกดเข้าไปตรงนั้นแล้วมันก็จะมีรูปลูกโลกเนาะมีคำว่า interpretation กดเข้าไปแล้วมันจะมี English กับไทยนะคะให้กดเข้า THAI ไทยนะคะเดี๋ยวการจะย้ายไปอยู่ในห้องภาษาไทยแล้วค่ะ
Good morning, everyone. Again, please go into the English language interpretation to hear this program, if you're speaking English, and to the Thai, if you're speaking Thai. Welcome, everyone. My name is Phoebe Jones, and I live in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, in the U.S. And on behalf of the Global Women's Strike and Care Income Now Survey Working Group, I'd like to welcome everyone to the report of the findings of our international survey, What Mothers and Caregivers Want. It was on March 8th, 2022, that we had a webinar launching the survey, and we are thrilled to be able to now report on the findings. We showed you what it looked like as you were coming on to the webinar, and this report will be available on our website, on the Global Women's Strike website on Monday, after we fix a few glitches, so you will have access to it then. And we will put the website address in the chat. The agenda for today's hour-long program is we will first hear from Peggy O'Mara on the survey results, and then from 3 women who helped circulate it in different countries, then from Laura Connolly on its significance, and finally from Selma James to put in context what the results show us. After Selma speaks, we hope to have time for some questions, so please put yours in the Q&A. I'd like to now introduce Peggy O'Mara. Peggy was the editor of Mothering Magazine, the go-to magazine for natural child rearing in the U.S. in the 1980s, 90s, and 2000s for thousands of subscribers, including myself. Her experience with that publication and being in touch with thousands of mothers over the years was enormously helpful in the work we collectively did to put together the survey, the questionnaire, and the findings. Peggy.
Thank you so much, Phoebe. I'm so excited to share the results of the What Mothers and Other Caregivers Want survey with all of you. Those of us who created and conducted the survey are mothers and caregivers ourselves. I live in Fort Collins, Colorado in the USA. I'm originally from Wisconsin and spent most of my life in Santa Fe, New Mexico. Reflections. I'm the mother of 4 children, the grandmother of 3. I was able to take care of my children at home because I had a family business. I also cared for my older parents and for my daughter who has a chronic illness. You know, as we all know who were part of the survey, that no one ever asks us what we want or need. And that most social policy is made and designed to get us back into the workplace rather than to support the work that we are already doing in the home. We wanted to know what mothers and caregivers actually want and need. After responses and comments of the 1,065 individuals who filled out the survey, we are convinced that their views should be carefully considered by all those who are interested in social change that is based on satisfying people's needs and aspirations rather than only on market forces. As Phoebe said, the survey was launched on International Women's Day, March 8th, 2022, and remained open until May 2023. It was available in Thai, Spanish, Italian, and English. The respondents to the survey are from 50 countries on all continents. Most respondents identified as women, and 70% are mothers. The 7 key findings from the survey are particularly poignant for mothers and other caregivers and are ripe for immediate action. The first key finding that I'd like to share with you today is that caregiving work deserves a care income. Mothers and caregivers who took the survey overwhelmingly felt that caregiving requires skills, time, and dedication, and said that society and our governments do not value this important work. They said they are not getting the support they need and mentioned things like healthcare, paid maternity leave, paternity leave, free childcare, and help with food and housing. 84% considered that their caregiving was a contribution to society that should be paid, for example, with a care income. They said they would be happier and a better caregiver if they received the recognition that income for their caregiving work would bring. The second key finding is that caregiving is work, which we all know. Just over half of respondents believe are solely responsible for the upbringing of their children, and they see their caregiving as essential work. The majority of respondents spend more than 40 hours a week caring for children and adults, and many said that caregiving is a 24/7 responsibility. One respondent wrote, "It is indisputable that the survival of all life on the planet depends on the work women and girls are doing all over the world to keep society going during wars, pandemics, hostile environments, and the climate catastrophe." Our third finding is that caregiving is often invisible. Many aspects of caregiving are not often thought of as care work. Some of the actions and tasks that the respondents identified as care work are providing emotional support, breastfeeding, homeschooling, helping with homework and parent school activities, supporting family and friends with mental illness, caring for the land, the natural world, farming, gardening, defending loved ones from racism and discrimination, defending self and others from sexual and/or domestic violence, and volunteer work in the community. One respondent wrote, "Like caring for our fellow human beings, caring for the land and for the natural world is similarly hidden and unvalued." Our fourth finding is that the bond between mother and child is vital. Most respondents are mothers and nearly half are single mothers. Respondents believe that the bond between mother and child is vital to the welfare of each. Many felt less valued by society when they became a mother. The vast majority breastfed, 76%, 46% breastfed for up to a year, and 25% for 2 years or more. A third said that their employers did not support breastfeeding. One respondent wrote, "Taking care of my 2 children at home when they were little was the most exhausting and the most joyous time of my life." The fifth finding is that without financial pressure, most mothers would not work full-time outside the home. While 63% of the respondents have a waged job, they worry about what's happening to their child or loved one when they're away at work. They want to care for their loved ones and do waged work primarily because they need the money. They find it hard to leave a child to relative who is unwell. 71% said that they would not work the same job or the same number of hours if they had no financial pressure, and only 5% would work full-time outside the home if they could choose freely. One respondent wrote, "There is no recognition for women who would do a double day. I would work part-time or not do wage work outside the home if I could." Our sixth key finding is that most respondents want to be cared for or to care for others at home. If they were to become dependent upon others for care, 73% of respondents would want to be cared for at home. And if they are caring for others at home, 60% would want to share a home with those that they care for. And among our respondents from Thailand and Myanmar, they could not even conceive of not taking care of their loved ones at home. One respondent wrote, "I wish I could have spent more time caring for my elderly parents." Our seventh finding is that over 80% of the respondents in all countries think that society is not doing a good job of valuing care work or of taking care of those, the valuing the work of people who are caring for children, for disabled friends and relatives, or for older adults. According to the World Policy Center, the World Policy Analysis Center, 96% of countries worldwide, including all 54 African countries, do provide some statutory paid maternity leave. And paid maternity leave ranges from 14 weeks in Thailand to 58 weeks in Bulgaria. In Sweden, mothers and fathers share 68 weeks of paid leave. I live in the United States, as I've said, which is the major global economy, and yet it provides absolutely no statutory maternity leave and no benefits for families. One respondent wrote, "Caregivers are severely undervalued and overworked. Society truly needs to adjust its priorities." And again, this is across all societies, especially in the United States. I thought, oh, people in the Nordic countries and Sweden, they have it good. You know, they have all these policies. But even in Sweden, even someone from Sweden said, in Sweden, we don't have a tax reduction to support a stay-at-home person or their children. In Sweden, the norm is that you stay at home for about a year and then go back to your work. It is hard to go against the norm as you make yourself so different from all the others and also get rather lonely. It is also quite hard to get the money to last if you try to support a family on one wage. Somebody from the US said, in the US, we need a federal paid maternity leave. I worked for a big global corporation, but only got 4 weeks of paid maternity leave. I could take up to a year of unpaid maternity leave, but the time is taken from your seniority at the company. Maternity is penalized, but any other disability, in quotes, is covered. A respondent from India said, I'm giving Maya a second to translate all this. A respondent from India said that India does not recognize the struggle of single mothers and supports the patriarchal social system. Society makes families of single mothers feel insecure. It is a strong belief system that only men and women together can raise a family. A woman from Germany said, I realize I'm privileged as a white German woman and things could be much worse. Still, even with all these privileges we have here, the situation is still far from good for female caregivers. A respondent from Egypt said, I had better chances 40 years ago than current mothers in Egypt. At my time, the state offered women better benefits than it does now. This is all important in the context of the economic value of caregiving. According to a conservative estimate from Oxfam, globally, women do twice as much unpaid work as men, sometimes 10 times as much, often on top of their paid work. The yearly value of this work comes out at $10.8 trillion, more than 3 times the value of the global tech industry. Fortunately, we are beginning to see a growing awareness in the world of the value of the work of unpaid family caregivers in the home. The pandemic helped people to see that we are the underbelly of the economy. Our work is not only essential, it is crucial. Without our work of maintaining everything and everyone in the home, productivity in society is impossible. We are indispensable, and we no longer want to live in poverty because of our caring. We call on society to care about us, and we will remain vigilant to make sure that it does. And I want to thank you all for your caring. Thank you.
Peggy, thank you so much. Such incredible and valuable information and moving testimonies. And thank you also for pausing when you speak for the interpreter to keep up with it. So, and I encourage the other speakers to also please speak slowly and give some pauses. We're going to now hear from Mai Hanta from Thailand. And Mai is from the sex worker movement Empower and the Community Women's Human Rights Defender Collective in Thailand. Mai worked closely with Liz Hilton, who was part of the survey working group and who passed away unexpectedly last year. The survey is dedicated to Liz. Mai.
ค่ะ สวัสดีค่ะ ก็
Hi
ประกาศ
everyone
ใหม่ไว้แล้วเนาะใหม่ก็จะเริ่ม
ค่ะ
พูดเลยนะคะ
Excuse me
Yeah.
one second. I just want to remind people to please go into the English interpretation to hear Mai in English without hearing the translation. Thank you.
เราใช้ชีวิตเหมือนกับผู้หญิง
Okay.
หลาย
We live like millions of other women in Thailand and around the world. We have given birth, farmed to grow food, worked in low-wage jobs, and done unpaid work. Women face discrimination based on sex, race, and class. Now, we are a collective of women from 19 diverse groups fighting to create space for women in society. We prioritize human rights and the care of people and the planet.
6 ปีที่ผ่านมาตอนแรกเราหลายคนไม่เชื่อว่า
Over the past 6 years, initially, many of us doubted we would receive care income as mother and caregiver. When we first gathered, we started as activity using clocks to record how many hours we spent caregiving. This marked the beginning of care income and inspired us to raise awareness in society. For the Mother Survey, we began in the Community Women Human Rights Defenders Collective in Thailand with the Rak Lahu group. And indigenous community, Fern, a representative of the Lahu sister, invited about
ได้เป็นธุระในการเชิญชวนพี่น้องในหมู่บ้านใกล้เคียง
20 people from nearby villages, including children. We brought food and snack to share with the children, and we ate together. I introduced myself, explained where I was from, and shared the background of the global women's strikes. Introducing P. Selma at our point of reference, Fern translated from Thai to Lahu. We had a lot of fun, and it took the whole day for everyone to understand. This resulted in the 8 demands of the Lahu sister. First, everyone should have access to a Thai ID card to obtain basic rights, such as the senior citizens allowance. Second, the government must provide electricity along streets to ensure villagers' safety. Third, the state must provide caregiving income equivalent to the minimum wage, around 300 baht a day or 15,000 baht per month, so caregivers can fully care for their families and children. Fourth, the state must allocate housing and land for livelihoods. Fifth, the state must provide safe, free transportation to and from school for children. Sixth, the state must offer free health care benefits without discrimination based on ethnicity or race. Seventh, the state must fund the cultivation of crops and rice and guarantee stable markets for selling the production. Eighth, the state must ensure genuinely free education for kindergarten to grade 12, including tuition fees, uniforms, and other related costs. The second time for the mother survey, I went to carry out the care income activity with the Ban Heng community, which is fighting against coal power plants. Ying facilitated bringing the mothers and sisters together for the activities. For any activity to happen, we first have to share a meal together. The mothers prepare and share food, bringing together around 30 people, including mothers, sisters, brothers, and children. I introduced myself and started by asking if anyone has paid taxes. The room fell silent in confusion. So I provided examples like paying taxes when shopping at supermarkets or buying goods. Then a few people started saying that as long as the prime minister remains a dictator, things will continue to be bad. I followed up by asking who among them provided caregiving. I explained the caregiving roles that women often fulfill, which prompted many to share that they take care of bedridden relatives or family members with mental health issues, but receive no support from the government, not even equipment. Some thought caregiving was their duty, while others asked where the state would find the funding. Many doubted whether this would be possible, and even those participating in the activity were not confident in speaking up. Even myself, at that time, I felt not confident whether our state could find the money to support care income. Listening to the mothers and caregivers talk about free health care in the welfare system and how hospitals still discriminate between the rich and the poor left a strong impression. It was inspiring to see everyone work together and sign a petition to decriminalize sex workers and support us. At Ban Heng, garlic farming is a major activity, so we brought hats and empowered shirts to give to the mothers so they could protect themselves from the sun while working in the land. We also participated in a women's activities event called We we get together held annually for women from Burma. Selma and Nina has spoken there before. The first time I spoke alone about care income for mothers and caregivers, which had to be translated from Thai to Burmese, a challenging task. Even explaining it in Thai to fellow Thais required effort to make it clear. The second time, Mai and PB carried out a care income activity during the Burmese Women's We Get Together conference. The second survey results were available, and we had our own comics to communicate with society. Hundreds of we had our own comics to communicate with societies. Hundreds of women from Burma were excited about the activities we conducted. We updated them on how many countries and participants had taken the survey, and they fully supported our care income campaign. The Community Women Human Rights Defenders Collective in Thailand made a short video called "Why Not Pay Us?" asking why we don't receive payment for caregiving work that benefits the environment, communities, land, housing, and mothers and caregivers who generate national revenue. Over the past 3 years, we have organized public forums to communicate with society on International Women Human Rights Defenders Day to advocate for care income for mothers and caregivers. In the first year, we submitted demands to the parliament and political parties and called on the government to provide buses for women human rights defenders to reach rural women's groups, which has not happened yet. We will be reclaiming those buses soon. In the second year, we held a forum at the Art Museum under the theme Care Income for Mothers and Caregivers. We invited various groups, our representatives, the Welfare State Network, and academics to discuss how we could push for care income for mothers and caregivers to be included in the Constitution. We received a positive response from society, including those who have left government jobs to care for their aging parents, reflecting on the importance of care income for mothers and caregivers. In the third year, we host a forum on how to allocate care income for mothers and caregivers within the participatory democracy budget, aiming to include these demands in the People's Constitution. This forum expanded the network to over 7 groups to extend our demands. The work of caring for the land and community forest, along with the success of the Dong Mafai sisters and brothers, is a milestone and a symbol of victory. The mothers and caregivers in Dong Mafai completely won a 30-year battle against the stone mines and crushers, reclaiming their spiritual land and community forest. Now they have built a museum of their struggle against the stone mines in the former mining area and transformed the area into community-managed ecotourism. They have provided a beacon of hope to others fighting against the state and capitalists. Over the past 7 years, the Community Women Human Rights Defenders Collective in Thailand has recognized that mothers and caregivers play a crucial role in shaping political struggle under military rule and their allies. Just like this, government authoritarians have used our tax money to harm us when we express our political and economic opinions in this so-called democratic society. The Mother Survey reports can be leveraged as a tool to advocate for care income for mothers and caregivers, as they include data gathered from mothers and caregivers in many countries. This data can be used to negotiate with governments and convince society. We hope this will strengthen the power of the Global Women's Strike Network, fostering connection, support, and solidarity among us. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mai, for the incredible and really incredibly creative work you did in not only in circulating the survey, but in getting women's caregiving work valued. So thank you so much. I want to remind people to, if you have a question, to please put it in the Q&A. If we have time at the end, we're going to see what comments and questions we can get to. Next, we have Carolyn Hill. Carolyn works with the Every Mother is a Working Mother Network in Philadelphia, and she is part of Women of Color in the Global Women's Strike and part of the team that circulated the survey. Carolyn.
Hi, everybody. My name is Carolyn Hill. I live here in Philadelphia. I'm a mother of 5, 2 deceased, grandmother of 17, great-grandmother of 4. And doing the care work and finding out what's going on with the care work, I really enjoyed it. Here in my city, on my block, during the summer, I survey a lot of them papers out. Far as traveling on the bus, I leave some of the literature on the bus. Talk to people as I'm leaving it. In my neighborhood, we had a lunch program going on. So all the moms would bring their kids to the lunch program. So I caught all of them outside at the lunch program. I just scribbled the papers out to them and asked them would they take the survey. And some of them said they would, they grabbed the sheets of paper. I took pictures of me handing them out and everything. And then I left some at my church. I left some at other churches that we attended. I even had people come over to my house to take the test, where I had a couple of people to help them by reading it out and they're signing it and everything. I really enjoyed it. Now, me as a mother, I done raised children since I was 12 years old. My brothers and sisters was the first ones. Then my grandma got sick. I helped with her. Then I had other family members that needed babysitters, so I was like the family babysitter, taking care of kids. Then as I got older, like I said, I had 5. I had my own. Then I had to take care of them. Took care of my mom when she got sick with cancer, passed away. And my daughter kids, my son kids, it looked like they was taking turns coming over, staying, which I did with them too. And taking care of kids is not easy. It's not no easy job. That's a worst job it is, because just imagine you in the bed, you're sleeping. One of the kids is sick and you got to jump up with them to see what's wrong. And, it's in the middle of the night, you tired, but you got to get up and do this job. And you end up at the hospital with them with a fever and stuff like that. And caregiving work, you get up with them, you feed them, you dress them, you take them to school. And the survey asked it a lot of questions. And I did do the survey. I did fill it out. And majority of the people that came to my little cooking that I had them fill out surveys, they filled it out. They was quite interested. And I passed them out on the streets. People asked questions what it was about. So I had to explain to some of them. They did take it. I left plenty of them on every bus I went. I was just dropping them off on the bus. People looked at me like she always dropping something off on the bus. That's me. That's how I got my outreach out because I like to travel on the bus. I don't drive, you know. And the mothers down the streets, they was very, asking questions. Well, Miss Carolyn, what is this about? I say it's taking care of children. See how good you take care of your kids and what do you know about taking care of kids? So they said, oh, okay, that's not a problem. So I left quite a few flyers with them. And like I said, I'm grandmother 17, oldest is 29, the youngest is 2. And I've been taking care of every last one of them. It look like they take turns. And I just want to say that we women got the hardest job. I don't care if you do get a man to do that work, they still don't feel like we feel when we finish because they will ask us a question or two or how to do this and what we doing, showing them what to do. And then we find ourselves doing the job again, then dressing them and feeding them, breastfeeding children, doing their hair. Oh, it's a lot. It's a lot. And I'm glad to be on this webinar so that I can let people know what I did. I'm 67 years old, and I've been doing this since I was 12 years old. My daughter girlfriends comes to the house. Miss Carolyn, what do I do for this? Miss Carolyn, what do I do for that? And I give them the advice. They come back. They say, oh, I wish you was my mother. Yes.
You're here, Carolyn. Thank you. Thank you so much. And great job really getting the survey out to communities that are rarely asked what they think and what they have to say.
Yes. I even left them at Walmart. I know a lot of people be in there shopping. I left them at Walmart, Target, because I'm the type that gets around.
Yes, you are. Thank you so much. And just to add to, one of your work that wasn't counted was taking care of your nieces, and they were taken from you because of poverty by the Department of Human Services. And, if you had had some resources, probably would never have done that. So thank you for everything you've done. We're going to hear now from going over across the seas here to London, where we're going to hear from Shoda Raquel, who is the mother of 4 and a breastfeeding advocate. And she is with Women of Color in the Global Women's Strike. Shoda.
Hi there, everyone. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Good, great. So, yeah.
Carolyn, you need to go on mute now. Sorry, just go on, Shoda.
Good to join. Yes, I'm a mother of 4. I'm a breastfeeding advocate and a member of the Women of Colour in the Global Women's Strike based at our Women's Centre in London. So I'm remembering to take a breath here. So for our part in outreach, I was part of the group in London who circulated the survey in our local neighbourhoods. And that was on stalls, on our local high street, in our local library, in the local shop windows, and at meetings and big demonstrations. Kentish Town, where our centre is, like many other areas of London, is very multiracial. And many women we talked to who filled in the survey were women of colour. Their incomes generally would be among the lowest, especially if they are single mums and or have a disability. Some would be on welfare benefits or very low wages. In fact, with our crisis of expensive living, a lot of women are using food banks. I gave the survey leaflet out to mums at the local school gates. So we have a couple of local schools close to the centre, and 2 more further away. And women were very happy to accept the leaflet and answer the questions and submit them to us. We sent it round. I also circulated it to my friends and my family. So they were very interested in what I was involved with and wanted to know what the survey was all about. We also did some follow-up calls to remind people to fill it in. We give out, like, for example, I might give it to a friend of mine and then ring a couple of days later and say, how did you find the survey? Did you manage to fill it out? And sometimes, oh yes, I did fill it in, and other times, oh, I'll do that today. So it was a good reminder. The leaflet with the Mother's Survey had a QR code on it, which was really useful for women to get straight to the survey online, particularly if they weren't walking away with the leaflet. They would just use their phones to link up to the QR code. So many of the younger mums were very happy with that. We blew up big posters of the QR code to carry on one of our very big London demos, and particularly a march and demo of mothers of a group called Pregnant Then Screwed. Many mums connected to the survey on their phones and sent the link. Oops, sorry, I've just moved something here. And sent the link to their own networks immediately around the country. So again, we managed to reach out to a larger number of people. Sorry, I'm just going to move something here. Right, we invited mothers to drop into a coffee morning at the centre on their way home from dropping their kids to our local school and fill in the survey online on a couple of our computers at the centre. That way the mums could come in without having distraction of their children and get assistance from us if they needed it, as to what a particular question meant or related to. We wanted to make it easier for mums and grandmas to be able to take part, and it also gave us an opportunity to have a little informal chat with them. And also it helped to introduce our Women's Centre to people who had never come in before, and we could put women at ease and talk generally about what was covered in the survey and perhaps what their particular experience was. We did sometimes discuss questions together and what they meant, also to explain more in English if it wasn't someone's first language. This really helped, as it took about 20 minutes for the women to fill it in online. Several members of the All African Women's Group, also mothers, a women's refugee and asylum group, were based at the centre, and they campaign against deportation, detention, and destitution, and meet at the centre, completed the survey with us in this way. When we put up our stall on the high street, just in front of the centre, we got people to talk about it, and in summer it was lovely and summery, and we caught a lot of people on their way and they were happy to stop and talk. And even in winter, when it got colder, we had people's sympathy and they came along and took leaflets too. We called our local press to take a photo of our street stall and to write an article on the survey, which they did for our International Women's Day in 2022. We hope they will now do a follow-up article on our fantastic results. I also did some voice interviews with mums who stopped by the stall to find out their views, which went on to the Global Women's Strike website, and we had a comments book that they could also sign. A lot of people stopped to talk to us, and we were glad to be asked, and they were glad to be asked, and they made insightful comments. I'd like to mention two of them. One was a South Asian Muslim woman who said, "It's a skill bringing up a human being, which is not recognized. And mums need money for this to have some dignity and get rid of their poverty. I know families where it's a choice between food and fuel, constantly using food banks, which is like being forced to beg." Another single mum did a short video interview and said, "I'm a single mum, and doing the survey brought to mind a few things that I'd brushed under the carpet as these questions weren't asked. I went back to work after 6 months due to maternity pay being so low, it wasn't a wage I could live off. I was back at work in the office at 6 months. Therefore, I did stop breastfeeding, and I had to put my daughter on the bottle after a tricky transition because unfortunately the pressure to go back to work was certainly real to me. These are the views we don't normally hear, and this is what this survey brought out. We had a lot of fun doing it, and we now want to let all those mums see what they contributed to. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Shoda. You're really seeing the deep dive that's going on here with the outreach. So thank you. Before we hear from Laura, we just wanted to briefly hear from Nina Lopez. She is going to report on findings from Brazil with the community there, trans community there. Nina is originally from Argentina and is now with the Global Women's Strike in London. Nina.
Hello, Phoebe. Thank you very much. And thank you, everybody, for the brilliant comments so far. Now, I'm reporting back from trans sex workers in Latin America, mostly Brazil, who are part of the English Collective of Prostitutes Network. Now, it was Marina who coordinated and put together these important and moving comments. She's not very well right now, so I will read them. And we wish her very well and thank her very much for doing this. And before I start, we want to dedicate this report to Natalia, a brilliant sister who tragically died before many of us had even met her. And some of the other sisters we found out recently who had filled in this survey have also very sadly died. Now, this is what Marina told us about how she did the outreach and what the women said. The survey took a long time to do because of the translation, and it is hard to know what to select on some of the answers. But we made our best effort, and we got 20 surveys completed, 13 from Brazil, 2 from Mexico, 2 Venezuela, 1 Colombia, and 2 women who live in the US but are from Honduras and the Dominican Republic. Some are undocumented. On the gender question, they said they tick trans woman, but they also write travesti in the other box because it is cultural as well as political. It is not just to respect trans identity, but because it is anti-racist and recognizes indigenous cultures. In many cultures, the binary does not exist in the way it does in the West. And in many places where it does, it is because it has been enforced by colonialism. Most of the women who answered were young, in their 20s and 30s, because life expectancy is not very good. Most were mixed race, some Black, a few indigenous, and the rest Latinx. And most are living with long-term health issues which they didn't necessarily mark as a disability. Everyone who answered said they're on a low income, and 2 of the older women have no income at all now, and they're being supported by younger trans women. Most of the women are raising children, not all biological. Some are sharing responsibilities with very close friends and chosen family. It is exhausting, but many have been used to raising younger siblings. They're like you, Carolyn. They have a whole experience before they get there of all the siblings they have helped with before. Some of us have been the main carer of other children while they were young, living on the street. We wish we could spend more time with our children, but this is made much harder when you're not only in poverty, but you're facing a lot of violence and discrimination. All of your energy and resources are spent on trying to remain alive. The Mexican women say, I've had a trans women in their communities have a particular caregiver role. It is the same as the daughters who stay at home and care for the elderly parents and relatives, and collectively for the children of others. Yes, the bond between mother and child is vital, but the bond with another primary carer or relative can sometimes be as important. And she gave the example of women who have raised us when our own mothers have abused and rejected us. We feel the bond and role of the mothers in our lives, and it is valid and important, and it should be respected. Because these women have given us the love we never received in our biological families. We are all strongly agreeing that what fathers contribute is very different, if they're even there. Isn't that an experience we know something about? The breastfeeding, we of course skipped the question, she said, but women were glad that this is a focus in the survey. One of the women said, the government and society will never compensate us for our work because they don't even want us alive or any of the people we care for. And we are definitely not seen as mothers or caregivers, as we're not even seen as women. We are glad that there has been an attempt to include us and that many types of caregiving have been included. Many of us are involved in many things for the environment, for the Amazon. So we're glad also it is extending to our natural world as well as the people. And this was the moving testimony from our sister in Brazil and a really important part of our survey. Thank you. Thank you, Marina. Thank you very much.
Nina, thank you so much for bringing that. We have 2 more speakers and then a brief wrap up. So we are going to be going over time, but I think it's been so valuable. You know, it's a big world and hard to get it all in 1 hour. So we did the best we could, but the hearing from the different countries and the different communities is so valuable and so rare. So this is really a privilege, and apologies for we're going to be going over a few minutes. We're going to be hearing now from Laura Connolly, and Laura is a lecturer in the Department of Sociological Studies at the University of Sheffield in the UK. Thank you, Laura.
Thanks, Phoebe. So I was honoured to be invited by Nina to join the survey working group, and I've learned so much from all of the amazing women involved. I'm really grateful to be able to share this space with you today for the webinar. Now that you've heard a little bit about the report from Peggy, from the outreach from some of the other women, and I'm sure once you get a chance to look at the report yourself, you'll agree that it is an essential and timely intervention. A high quality, rigorous and detailed report that sets out in very clear terms what mothers and other caregivers want. It's rare for a research project to have such an abundance of rich and detailed data from so far across the globe, from 50 different countries. And this is testament to the outreach methodology that Mai, Carolyn, Shoda, and Nina have described. There are few that could deliver this survey, but Global Women's Strike have the far-reaching networks, the will, and the commitment to ensuring that mothers and other caregivers are given the space to interject into conversations that are so often held about them without them. Conversations that must be informed by mothers and caregivers. So this report amplifies voices that are often silenced, not listened to, and it empowers communities to enact meaningful change. Survey participants so generously shared their views and experiences, some of the most important aspects of their lives. And this was enabled by the fact that the team have experiential knowledge of caregiving. The team are themselves mothers and other caregivers. Experiential knowledge infuses empathy into our research endeavours. It grounds some of the statistics that you've heard about today in lived experience. It enables us to ask the right questions and to foster trust and rapport with participants that, in this case, encouraged an open and honest dialogue and authentic representation in the findings. Participants trusted that the nuances and the complexities of caregiving were understood by the team, who are not disconnected from the issues that are explored in the survey. And this is a true strength of the report. It sets it apart from other surveys that have gone before it. Central to the integrity of the report is the principle of letting participants' voices speak for themselves. So through the inclusion of direct quotes, narratives, the report becomes a platform for authentic expression. It amplifies diverse voices, a range of voices, even some critical ones. By foregrounding these narratives, we honour the dignity and the agency of participants, acknowledging that those participants are experts in their own right. By privileging participant voices, the report also seeks to foster empathy and understanding amongst its readership. It invites the reader to walk in the shoes of mothers and other caregivers, to see the world through their eyes and to grasp their reality. This report then provides a much needed body of evidence, painstakingly examined by the team, a body of evidence that demands attention. It should be taken seriously by policymakers and others in positions of power, by academics, and by the public at large. It provides a compelling case for policy reform and community support. Most of all, we hope that the report will become a resource for mothers and caregivers across the globe, amplifying their calls for recognition, support, and a care income. We hope that the findings of this report, which embody this collective voice of caregivers, are not just heard, but acted upon. Thank you very much.
Hear, hear, Laura. Absolutely. Thank you so much. Thank you for, really great to hear an academic assessment of the importance of the survey. So we really appreciate that. We're now going to hear from Selma James. Selma coordinates the Global Women's Strike, and she has been campaigning for recognition and payment for mothers and caregivers since she founded the Wages for Housework campaign over 50 years ago. Selma is the author of numerous publications, including Sex, Race, and Class, and Our Time Is Now. US born, she is now based in London, England, and Selma, you are most welcome.
Thank you very much. I'm very moved by what I've heard so far. First of all, because it confirms me in the view that women know more about the world than anybody else, by which I mean men. And mothers do understand, I think, so much more because of the lives that they live and the work that we do. But it's not only that thrilled me as I listened to these brilliant and very articulate women about a truly crucial subject. It's because I always believed we should be international. And it's so clear that when we are making the real exchange between women and no doubt between men when it happens, that we will begin to understand ourselves as human beings and understand the world a great deal more. I feel we should have an income for this work, and I feel that this income validates that what we do is central to reproducing the whole human race and making life on this planet what we want it to be, which it isn't now. It isn't at all what we want, but what we want it to be. The second thing about what we're talking about now is that when we care, we make a relationship between ourselves and children, between ourselves and elders, between ourselves and neighbors, among ourselves. We make ourselves human because, a dear friend of mine said in a film that we made, she was a nurse and a mother of 3. And she said, in the course of describing her work, she said, "You give yourself." Yes. And that's what gives us real happiness, is when we give ourselves and when others give themselves to us in a relationship of caring and concern and community and working together, especially on an international level. We need what people have said today. We need vitally 10 times over and 10 times over that. So we know what people are going through, how people are managing to survive, what kind of a life any of us wants to live together. And we can build a fantastic movement to change the world for carers and for all of us to be carers.
Selma, thank you so much. Got goosebumps. It's really the work that you have done, along with others here and many others over the years, that's gotten us to the point where we could have even considered, let alone doing such a survey. So thank you. It is a really richer and deeper survey because of you and all you have done. So thank you so much. We're going to just get a summary from Anne on the Q&A, but before we get to that, I just wanted to point out the last section of the survey. And again, you will be able to access the survey on the Global Women's Strike website on Monday. We've got to fix some glitches that occurred, but it'll be there. And you can also, I think Eric is going to show some of the images of it as we are departing the survey. But the final section of the Q&A mentions some of the campaigns that we're involved in different countries to raise the need for financial recognition for caregivers by mothers and others. So from the child tax credit and pilots for guaranteed care income and legislation in the US, to women-led natural farming that benefits the community and the climate in India, to domestic workers in Peru demanding a living wage for work in your home and the home of others, to changes in the Constitution in Ireland and Thailand. Sorry, I'm going a little fast. Let me slow down. To demands for kinship carers in Scotland, many grandmothers, to get the same money foster carers get. For mothers to get the money and resources they are entitled to, money that instead of going to mothers is enriching the brutal child removal industry, wrecking our lives and our lives of our children in both the UK and the US and in many other countries. And for mothers and sex workers in Wales to get a care income so they can avoid or leave prostitution if they want to. These are just some examples of the movement we are part of, making caring central to society's priorities, and which this survey feeds into. There is a lot of food for thought and campaigns you can be part of if you're not already. And if you want to be in touch with us, please put your contact info in the chat if you're not already in touch with us, and we can, get back in touch with you. So Anne, can you briefly say maybe what's come into the chat and if there were any questions?
Okay, sure. So people were really delighted to hear about how the survey was distributed. And as one person said, it was really reaching those who do the most care work. And also people were moved by the trans women report, trans women fighting to care and fighting to stay alive. And one person commented how much they appreciate that the survey and the strike have an extensive understanding of motherhood that goes beyond biology, and said thank you. A number of people said, thank you very much. Somebody said that they wish their mother was alive because she would definitely have completed the survey and circulated it. The question, okay, there's an AI assistant, which I don't really understand, that's helping somebody take notes, and the link to people being able to comment was put in the chat. So people perhaps who understand a bit more about AI than I do might want to go onto that link. And the question is from Sam, who says, does the panel have any comments on whether men would be more inclined to do the caring work if there was a care income for anyone who does the work. And people were just very glad to hear about the survey overall, and really delighted to be on the webinar.
Selma, you have any interest in would men be more apt to do it if they got paid for it? Is that what the question was, basically?
Yes.
Do you want to tackle that one, Selma?
Oh, well, I'm absolutely certain that men will want to do it when they see what we use the money for and how that changes the relationships among us. When we have money of our own as women for the work of caring for them and others, and for others caring for us, the world will change in such a way that men will feel more like caring and more understanding of the caring that they receive, and gratitude and love, mutual love. I really feel that beginning with an income for the love we give and receive is a fantastic way to change the world.
Hear, hear. Thank you so much, Selma. And I want to thank everybody who's been joined this webinar. It's Mother's Day in the US tomorrow, and this was a great way of, getting the recognition for the work we do as mothers. I want to thank the speakers and Khan, who translated. Thank you so much. I hope we didn't make your life too difficult by going too fast. I want to thank the tech team, Chrissy, Eric, and Anne. I want to thank the working group, Chrissy, Kay, Laura, Michelle, Nina, Peggy, Phoebe, Selma, Shoda, Solveig, and Tracy. And I want to give a special thanks to all the mothers and caregivers who took the time, and it took a long time, to fill out the survey and who have enriched our lives by sharing theirs. Thank you so much.
Before we go,
Sure.
I'm sorry, before we close this meeting, I don't feel we can close this meeting without mentioning the genocide that's going on in Gaza at the moment.
Yeah.
Which all of us are involved in opposing wherever we are, because it is primarily mothers and children, especially children, but then also their mothers that are being targeted. And we mothers around the world, we just can't bear to see our children slaughtered, so that some people can make money or can grab land or can stay in power or whatever their reasons. And if this survey stands for anything, and if the Global Women's Strike stands for anything, it is precisely to invest in caring, not killing. So I just thought that we should all acknowledge what's going on, and that this survey is feeding into that, as opposed to the slaughter.
Thank you,
very
Nina.
much.
And there's many.
Glad for that, and really to say that all children are all our children. They belong to all of us, and they are precious, everyone.
Thank you, Selma and Nina. So glad you raised that. So I think Eric is going to play the for participants to play the slideshow of the video that you will be, the report that you will be able to access on Monday.
There you can see it.
Panelists, please stay on.